Ever get that feeling like you want to like really get to the bottom of something, go past like just the headlines and summary?
Oh, yeah, totally. Want to know, like, the real deal.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing today, like a deep dive into this idea of a fourth grade slump. It's been this talking point in education for ages, right?
Right. The whole idea that around 9 years old, kids, uh, they hit this dip in their creative thinking. It's interesting for sure. And education folks have been going back and forth on it forever.
Oh, absolutely. And it like really took off back in the 60s with that E. Paul Torrance guy. He kind of put it on the map. And then it's just been study after study trying to figure out like, is it real or not?
And trying to make sense of all those studies by themselves, that's a whole other headache.
Totally. Which brings us to this, this research you found. It's not just another study. It's like looking at all the research.
Exactly. It's a meta-analysis. They basically took a bunch of studies and combined all the results.
Yeah.
This one is it's called "Does the Fourth Grade Slump in Creativity Actually Exist?"
Catchy title.
Right. So it was published back in 2021 in the Educational Psychology Review. These researchers, Semis and Metwally and their team, they pulled data from a whopping 41 studies.
41. That's a lot of studies.
Oh, yeah. And get this, over 40,000 participants when you combine all that. That's how you get a clearer picture than any single study could.
Okay, so the big question is, did they find this slump or what? Is it for real?
Well, when they looked at the big picture from first grade to 12th grade, they actually found this upward trend. Creativity, as measured by divergent thinking, was generally going up.
Divergent thinking, for those who don't know, it's like that ability to come up with a bunch of different solutions to a problem.
Yeah, not just finding one right answer. It's about thinking outside the box, exploring all kinds of possibilities. So this upward trend, you'd think that's good news.
It does sound good, but you said something about discontinuities earlier.
Right, so there's a twist.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's this overall increase, they didn't really find a fourth grade slump like everyone talks about.
Really? So all this talk about a slump and nothing.
Well, not exactly a slump, more like a plateau between third and fourth grade. Not much change happening there.
So it's not a sudden drop. It's like things just pause for a bit.
Exactly. But get this, they did find a seventh grade slump.
Wait, seventh grade? Now that's unexpected. So everyone's been focused on fourth grade, and the data is pointing to something happening a few years later.
Yeah, around age 12 or 13. Makes you wonder if all that focus on fourth grade was kind of misplaced.
Huge implications for how we think about creativity in those middle school years,
Oh,
right?
yeah, and it makes you really want to dig into what's going on during that time. But they didn't just stop there. They look at all these other factors that could be playing a role. They call them moderating factors.
Moderating factor.
Yeah, like things that might be influencing whether this slump happens or not.
Interesting. So it's not as simple as slump or no slump. What kind of things did they find?
One thing was the actual tests they used to measure this stuff. Different tests, different results. They looked at the Torrance tests, the TTCT, and the Wallach-Kogan, the WKCT, and they found different patterns, especially when it came to originality. Originality meaning how novel and unique the ideas are, a key part of divergent thinking. And the WKCT actually did show a decrease in originality around fourth grade, but the TTCT didn't.
So it almost feels like how we measure creativity affects what we find.
It does make you think.
Yeah.
How much of our understanding is tied to the tools we're using. But anyway, they also looked at the types of tasks, whether it was verbal, using words, or figural, drawing and stuff. And they found some interesting trends.
Like what? Tell me more.
They saw this slight upward trend for figural tasks between third and fourth grade. But for verbal tasks, it was like a slight downward trend, although neither was statistically significant overall.
So maybe how kids express themselves visually develops a bit differently than their verbal creativity at that age.
It's possible, they're on different paths. And then they looked at giftedness, too.
So, do gifted kids experience this slump differently?
Well, they looked at fluency, which is how many ideas you come up with. And they found that gifting kids tended to have an increase in fluency from third to fourth grade, while non-gifted kids showed a slight decrease. So maybe gifted kids just have more capacity to explore those different possibilities.
Fascinating. Makes sense, though. What about where the kids are from? Does culture play a role?
It does. They found that the country where the study was done mattered, specifically for originality. Studies from Eastern countries actually showed a fourth grade drop in originality, but Western countries, nope, no drop.
So that raises a whole other question. Is it really a difference in creativity or a difference in how creativity is valued or taught in different cultures?
Right. Maybe Eastern cultures emphasize conformity more at that age, so kids are less likely to express those really unique ideas.
It's something to think about. Okay, so fourth grade is super complicated, but let's go back to this seventh grade slump. What did they find about that?
So for the seventh grade, they looked at the same kinds of moderating factors. And again, the type of test they used was a big one. Remember how the WKCT showed a drop in originality around fourth grade?
Yeah.
Well, it showed a significant drop in overall DT between sixth and seventh grade, too.
So maybe that specific test is just really sensitive to whatever changes are happening in creative thinking around those ages.
It's possible.
Yeah.
They also found that task content mattered for seventh grade. This time, figural tasks were associated with a bigger drop in overall DT compared to verbal tasks.
Interesting. So it almost seems like things flip between fourth and seventh grade. In fourth grade, maybe verbal creativity plateaus a bit while visual creativity keeps increasing. But in seventh grade, it's the visual stuff that takes a hit.
Yeah, it's like they're on these different developmental tracks. And get this, gender also played a role in seventh grade. Studies with more boys in them showed a larger negative change in overall DT between sixth and seventh grade. And this pattern was seen in fluency, flexibility.
Flexibility meaning, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, right. It means being able to switch between different categories of ideas.
Got it, thanks.
No problem. So yeah, flexibility, originality, it was all affected.
Wow. So is there something about what boys go through developmentally around that age that affects their divergent thinking?
Maybe. They suggested it could be tied to social stuff or even like hormonal changes during puberty.
Yeah, puberty is a wild ride. Okay, so we have these potential dips in both fourth and seventh grade, but different things seem to be influencing them. What are some of the bigger theories about why these slumps might happen in the first place?
One idea is that it's about school transitions. Like going from elementary to middle school is a big change.
Yeah, more pressure, more focus on fitting in and getting good grades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes kids less willing to take creative risks. They focus more on finding the right answer instead of exploring lots of possibilities.
It's like you're supposed to color inside the lines now.
Right. There's also a cognitive theory. It suggests that these dips in divergent thinking might happen when there's a lot of growth in other cognitive areas.
So, like, your brain is working so hard on logic and critical thinking that it takes a break from creativity for a bit.
Something like that. And for the seventh grade slump, they also brought up the hormonal changes of puberty. All those shifts going on. It's got to affect the brain somehow, right?
It's a time of so much change in general. It makes sense that it would show up in creativity too. So why is this research so important? Why should we care if there's a fourth grade slump or a seventh grade slump or whatever?
Because if we want to help kids be creative, we got to understand how it develops. If we know when these dips might happen and what influences them, then we can tailor our teaching to support creativity better.
Right. We can't just assume that all fourth graders are suddenly going to become less creative. We need to be more nuanced than that.
Exactly. And it also highlights that creativity isn't just one thing. It has different dimensions and different ways of being expressed. Like you said, we got to be more nuanced.
And this meta-analysis is especially helpful because it looks at so much data. I mean, the study itself mentions that a lot of the previous research was based on pretty small samples.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest strengths of this study. That huge amount of data gives us a much more reliable picture.
Okay, so bottom line, is the fourth grade slump real or not?
I'd say it's more complicated than that. It's not this universal thing that happens to everyone. Creativity is a journey, and it has ups and downs along the way. But those ups and downs are affected by all these different factors.
And for fourth grade, those factors include the test used, the type of task, whether the kids are gifted or not, and even their culture.
Right. And for seventh grade, it's the test, the task content, and gender.
So much more to it than just age.
Definitely.
Okay, so now I have to ask, what about this seventh grade slump? What does this mean for middle school? I mean, are we accidentally squashing creativity at that age? What kind of changes could we make to support it better? Something for all of us to think about, right? What about you listening? Have you seen this in your own life, with your kids, your students, whoever? It's worth reflecting on, I think.
I think so, too.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive. So much to think about. Thank you so much for all this insight.
My pleasure. Always happy to explore these topics.
And thank you all for listening. Join us next time for another deep dive.